When people talk about the greatest athletes of all time, you usually hear names like Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, or Serena Williams.
Yes, sir.
But what if I told you there was a hockey player so dominant that the league itself had to change the rules to nerf him? A player who once scored 50 goals in just 39 games, snapped records year after year, and had more 100-plus point seasons than not. He was so far ahead of everyone else that coaches, players, even the NHL's rulebook had a tough time keeping up. Yup, this really happened. All other teams could do was pray he had an off night, but that rarely happened. He was nicknamed the Great One, and for good reason. Who was this legend? Easy guess, none other than Wayne Gretzky. And to really understand how Gretzky's absurd dominance in the 80s forced the NHL to change its rules, it's worth going back to a frozen backyard rink in small-town Canada in the early 90s.
Look, before we go ahead and get into the Great One story, bro, look, I'm not really a hockey fan like that. I'm trying to get into other sports, you know. I watched it here and there. I'm not really a hockey fan, so y'all gotta, in the comments, y'all gotta like teach me, tell me little stuff that I can really find out. I'm gonna start looking stuff up and searching stuff up myself, but y'all gotta help me out and tell me about other hockey players I should watch and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? But hey,
1960s. Gretzky's story begins in Brantford, Ontario, where a toddler learned to skate damn near before he could walk. His dad, Walter Gretzky, built a small rink behind their house in the winter of 1965, 4 years after Wayne was born. Not to raise a...
That's him? Oh, this is legendary. He was already... And y'all gotta let me know, is Canada so... Because I know Canada's so popular. I'm not trying to pause it so much, but I know Canada's so popular because of hockey. Is it because of Wayne Gretzky? But he already, bro.
Superstar, but simply because, in his words, my feet were too damned cold. But that backyard rink turned into something bigger. It became a neighborhood playground, with kids skating under a light strung from a clothesline, and Wayne staying out so long he had to be dragged back inside. But the real beginning? That wasn't the backyard. Wayne first learned to skate on the Nith River, out at his grandmother's farm, about 12 miles from Brantford. That's where he first fell in love with the ice. By the time he was 4, he was hooked. Walter said the hard part wasn't getting Wayne on skates, it was getting him off them. He'd beg to go to the river, to the park, or anywhere with ice. And even when there was no one left to skate with, Wayne would keep going anyway. As Walter put it, everybody was gone. Everybody but Wayne. One night, after sitting frozen in the car waiting for Wayne to finish skating, Walter walked into his mother's house, turned to his wife and said, "That's it. I'm all through freezing my tail off. I know he wants to skate at the park. He can stay out there as long as he wants." It wasn't ambition. It was survival. Not Wayne's, mine. So that's where Wally's Coliseum was born. By age 5, Wayne was pretty much living on the ice, begging his dad daily, "When can I play on a real team?" The obsession was real. And even though Wayne didn't understand how registration worked, he knew one thing. Hockey meant teams, and he wasn't on one yet. By the time he was 6 years old, Wayne was playing on a team of 10-year-olds. Yes, he was good enough to play, but in the mid-60s, minor hockey in Brantford only started at the age of 10, so there wasn't much of a choice. Either way, he did his thing, always wearing a jersey that was way too big for his small frame. He dealt with the oversized J by tucking it into his pants on one side, a habit that would later, as we all know, become his trademark. Even against kids 4 years older, Gretzky was dominating. One of his first coaches, Dick Martin.
I get the hockey swag though. That's swag though. Okay, because I've seen that before. I seen the Wayne Gretzky tuck. I seen that before. Now I understand, okay.
A habit that would later, as we all know, become his trademark. Even against kids 4 years older, Gretzky was dominating. One of his first coaches, Dick Martin, couldn't believe that little Gretz handled the puck better than the 10-year-olds. Wayne was so good that even if your own kid was an incredible hockey player, no one really noticed, because everyone was too busy watching what the Gretzky kid was doing. At 10 years old, Gretzky put up numbers that sound like a misprint. 378 goals and 139 assists in a single season with the Brantford Nadrofsky Steelers.
Crazy.
Yep, one kid scored nearly 400 goals in just one season.
How many
85 games, 378 goals.
He was going, bro, if you calculate that, You can't even do the
You
calculation
do the
on
math.
that.
His gameplay was getting media attention way beyond his hometown. Newspapers ran profiles on the whiz kid from Brantford who was tucking like nobody has ever seen. By the age of 13, Wayne had scored over 1,000 goals in organized hockey, all while playing against kids, sometimes teens, a lot older than him. And still,
was going
nobody
crazy.
could hang. In the 1974 Quebec International Pee Wee Tournament, one of the most prestigious youth hockey teams in the world, Gretzky put up 26 points, the second most all time. Not to mention, Wayne played only 4 games for a 6.5 point.
That still stands to the day. Still stands. That's crazy.
Per game average, and number 1, Luca Torchio, put up just 1 more point in 6 more games played. Either way, this tournament features top 11 and 12-year-old players from across the globe, and it was still too easy for Gretzky. But Wayne's youth was not all smooth sailing. Being a prodigy came with pressures. He faced envy, huge expectations, and even boos from opposing crowds and parents. They didn't like seeing their kids' teams get waxed by a skinny fella wearing number 9. He later switched to his famous 99. Still, Wayne's love for the game was unshaken.
Ain't gonna tell why he wear number 9 though, or do he just wear 9? Why he wear number 9? Somebody gotta let me know why he don't wear number 9. I gotta know that, or is he gonna tell me?
He sharpened his skills obsessively on that backyard rink, dangling around empty bleach bottles and tin cans, ripping wristers at snowbanks. At 16, he left home to play Junior A hockey with the Seneca Nationals, part of the Metro Junior League near Toronto. This wasn't a kids' league.
I ain't gonna lie, when I see old pictures like that, bro, even though I'm still learning about hockey, it just brings you back, like, I don't know.
Mostly 18 and 19-year-olds. Older, stronger, and smarter players with way more experience. None of that mattered. As you'd probably guess, Gretz lit the league up. He racked up an incredible 72 points in just 32 games, often making grizzled vets look like they didn't belong in the same league, never mind on the same ice. His hands were too silky, his IQ too high, and his mind always 2 steps ahead. The junior hockey world was watching. Pro scouts were watching. And Wayne? He was just starting to cook. In 1978, at just 17 years old, Wayne Gretzky turned pro. Not in the NHL at first, but in the World Hockey Association. He was still a skinny teenager playing...
Oh, run that back. What did he say? Because, yeah, let me know in the comments, when did hockey get invented, bro? And let me know who was the best player before Wayne Gretzky and what was his numbers, bro? Because I got to start comparing. If I'm learning, I got to, you know.
At just 17 years old, Wayne Gretzky turned to cook. In 1978, at just 17 years old, Wayne Gretzky turned pro. Not in the NHL at first, but in the World Hockey Association. He was still a skinny teenager playing against grown men, but he quickly proved he belonged. When the WHA folded a year later, the Edmonton Oilers, with Gretzky in tow, merged into the NHL. The question on everyone's mind was, could this teenage phenom dominate the National Hockey League like he did every league before? And well, it didn't take too long to get that answer. Gretzky's first NHL season was in 1979 to 1980, and it was one for the ages. At just 19, Wayne put up 137 points, 51 goals, 86 assists, to tie for the league scoring title with Marcel Dion. He won the Hart Memorial Trophy as the NHL's most valuable player that year.
So the Hart Memorial Trophy is the most, okay. So he won it as a rookie? Look at the aura from this picture. Look at the aura from this picture. As a rookie winning MVP, he just was a monster. Hockey,
the first of 8 consecutive MVP awards he would claim. Think about that.
First of how many?
First of 8 consecutive MVP awards he would claim. Think about that. An NHL newcomer not only led the league in points, but was voted the best player in the league. And he'd keep that title 8 years in a row. No one had ever seen a debut like this. Technically, he wasn't eligible for Rookie of the Year due to his WHA experience, so Gretzky missed out on that trophy, but it really didn't matter. The hockey world was in shock. The Great One, a nickname he'd been given as a child, was now the Great One at the sport's highest level. How did this unassuming, baby-faced kid take over the NHL so quickly? Gretzky didn't overwhelm teams with size or strength. At 6 foot and about 180 pounds, he was—
Ooh, I ain't gonna lie, it was tough. I'm still so blown away from he had 8 consecutive MVP. Yo, the Great One. I need me a 99 jersey. I need me a 99 jersey. I gotta have it. They still sell those. Of course, they still sell those. But look at this. Look at this assist or pass.
Take over the NHL so quickly. Gretzky didn't overwhelm teams with size or strength. At 6 foot and about 180 pounds, he was relatively small by hockey. At 6 foot and about 180 pounds, he was relatively small by hockey standards. He wasn't the fastest skater either. Instead, his dominance came from an absurd understanding of the game. Wayne had an almost supernatural anticipation. He knew where the puck would be and how plays would unfold a split second before everyone else. Hall of Fame goalie Ken Dryden noticed that before Gretzky, hockey's focus was always on the player with the puck, the one person trying to make a play. Gretzky reversed that. He made you worry about all 5 players on the ice. As Dryden put it, like a magician, he had to direct attention elsewhere, to move unnoticed into the open ice where size and strength didn't matter. He would draw D-men towards him, then suddenly slip a perfect pass to a teammate who never even knew he was open. If teams focused on Gretzky, he'd dish to a teammate. If they gave him space, he'd just put it in.
I gotta see it again. Hold on. Because I'm trying to hold on.
Then suddenly slip a perfect pass to a teammate who never even knew he was open. If teams focused on Gretzky, he'd dish to a teammate. If they gave him space, he'd just put it in your net. He made everyone on his team better. And if you couldn't keep up, you'd look like a duster. In that first NHL season, Gretzky's Edmonton Oilers didn't win the championship, but they were getting better by the game. The young Oilers were learning to take advantage of Wayne's IQ, and Wayne was learning that he could thrive, even in the rock'em sock'em NHL of the 80s, where vets would test the teenager with brutal slashes and cross-checks. He had a target on his back, but the—
Oh my, that looked dangerous. Why they do him like that?
Oilers wisely enlisted enforcers like Dave Semenko to make sure no one took too many liberties with their young superstar. Through it all, Gretzky kept racking up points. He had turned the NHL into his playground from day one, and still, he was just getting started. The stage was set for an offensive explosion that hockey had never seen before. Gretzky's early 1980s run wasn't just good, it was outrageous. In the 1981-82 season, at 20 years old, he hit a milestone that, yet again, sounds like fiction. 92 goals in a single season. The previous record for goals in a season was 76. Wayne crushed it like it was nothing. During that same season, he notched 212 points, another all-time record. To put that into perspective, before Gretzky arrived, no player had ever even reached 152 points in a season.
He had 212? I ain't even gonna lie. He might be one of the greatest athletes of all time. Forget this. Bro, 8 consecutive MVPs? Who is doing that in any sport? What did you talking about? Nah, hold on, bro. Gretzky, I didn't know he was this great. I'm glad I'm watching this as a first time watching hockey, really just focusing on it.
No player had ever even reached 152 points in a season. A whole 60 points more than the previous record holder, Phil Esposito, in 1970-71. Fans were witnessing an offensive threat unlike anything in hockey history. One of Gretzky's most famous accomplishments was scoring 50 goals in 39 games. That year, he hit the 50-goal mark before New Year's Eve. In just half the season. The traditional benchmark for elite goal scoring was 50 goals in 50 games. But Wayne made even that look ordinary, hitting the mark in 11 less games. On the night of December 30th, 1981, he scored 5 goals in one game to reach 50, bringing the crowd of the Northlands Coliseum to its feet in disbelief. It was as if he was playing a video game on easy mode. Night after night, Gretzky's scoring exploits led sports highlights across North America. He had 9 different 50-plus goal seasons, but that 92-goal campaign stands at the top of the record books to this day. And it wasn't just lighting the lamp. Gretzky was a nasty playmaker. In 1985 to 86, he put up 163 helpers on his way to an NHL record 215 points that season. Just think about that. 163 assists, which by itself would have been the 3rd highest point total ever if counted as points. His vision on the ice was
Hold on, so he got the highest points, the highest goals in the season. Yo, this man was and they still stand to this day.
Unmatched. He could thread passes through traffic that no one else even saw. He often said his advantage was that he didn't go to where the puck was, he went to where it was going to be. The results were damn near magical. Between 1982 and 1985, the Edmonton Oilers, powered by Gretzky, averaged 423 goals per season, becoming the highest scoring team in NHL history. That's a bit more than 5 goals per game. I mean, how do you even lose with those stats? Gretzky himself averaged 207 points per year in that span. Again, when no player before had ever topped 152. The numbers made 0 sense, and records fell left and right. By the end of the 1984 to 85 season, at just 24 years old, Wayne Gretzky already held or shared 49 NHL records. He won the NHL scoring
49? Look, it's so much aura in this picture right here. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't trying to, because y'all gotta let me know in the comments about other players, because I'm getting into it. I'm trying to, keep my horizon open, but bro, I shouldn't have started with the great one. I should have started with somebody else, because bro, how can you get better than this, bro? Well, I had to see what the standard was then,
title every year from 1981 through 1980. He won the NHL scoring title every year from 1981 through 1987, and again a few more times later. He was voted MVP 8 straight seasons from 1980 to 80.
I need this picture framed. I'm gonna get this picture right here framed. This is so much aura. The God, the great one.
87, an achievement no one else has come close to in any major sport. And if you hadn't heard of Wayne Gretzky by the mid-80s, you probably weren't a sports fan. Despite all the personal success, Gretzky wasn't just padding stats on a losing team. He was a champion in the making. The Edmonton Oilers, stocked with other young stars like Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Paul Coffey, and Grant Fiore, were evolving into a powerhouse dynasty. They had a setback in 1983, reaching the Stanley Cup Finals, only to get swept by the New York Islanders, who were themselves on a 4-year championship streak. But the very next season, in 1984, Gretzky and the Oilers got their revenge, dethroning the Islanders to win the Stanley Cup, the first championship in Oilers history. Gretzky, at 23, finally hoisted the cup, and it wouldn't be the last time. With Gretzky as a captain, the mid-1980s Oilers became one of the greatest squads ever put together. They played hockey at an absurd pace, fitting for the wide-open style Gretzky thrived in. After that 1984 breakthrough,
stupid! Oh, I like Gretzky.
Fitting for the wide-open style Gretzky thrived in. After that 1984 breakthrough, the Oilers went on to capture 4 Stanley Cup titles in 5 seasons: 1984, 1985, 1987, and 1988. They were an offensive juggernaut, often overwhelming teams with goals in bunches. In those championship runs, Gretzky also picked up 2 Conn Smythe trophies as playoff MVP in 1985 and 1988, further proving that whether it was in the regular season or playoffs, he would dominate. Every spring, it seemed Gretzky was rewriting the playoff record books. In one 1985 playoff game, he put up 7 assists, a single-game playoff record. In the 1985 postseason, he racked up an absurd 47 points, which is still the record for a single playoff year. The Oilers' offense was so gross that no lead was safe for opposing teams. Edmonton could be trailing 3-0, and within minutes, Gretzky and company would have the game tied. The team wasn't just winning, they were dominating and entertaining. Fans loved it, unless their team was the one getting torched. Gretzky became the face of hockey. In Canada, he was a national hero. In the United States, he made hockey popular in places it never was. He even appeared in commercials, a sign that he'd achieved celebrity status beyond the rink. After the Oilers won their second straight cup in 1985, the team was invited to a reception in the United States. There's an iconic photograph of a 24-year-old Gretzky shaking hands with President Ronald Reagan at the White House.
This is 24? 24 achieving greatness? Look at that hair. It's perfect.
A meeting of the great communicator and the great one. It symbolized how far Gretzky's star had risen. A kid from small-town Canada now being honored by the leader of the free world. However, even as Gretzky and the Oilers were on top of the hockey world, rumblings began that their dominance was almost too much of a good thing. Other teams struggled to contain Edmonton's firepower.
That shit look like AI. Hold on. That shit look like AI. Was that real?
Even as Gretzky and the Oilers were on top of the hockey world, rumblings began that their dominance was almost too much of a good thing. Other teams struggled to contain Edmonton's firepower. Coaches schemed desperately to slow them down, shadowing Gretzky with its best D-men, clutching and grabbing, as much as rules allowed, to knock the Oilers off their free-flowing game. But nothing seemed to really stop them, until the league itself stepped in. It happened in the summer of 1985. The NHL Board of Governors had to step in after yet another season of Gretzky being Gretzky, and they approved a set of rule changes for the upcoming 85 to 86 season. One rule in particular stood out: the introduction of offsetting penalties, where if each team took a penalty at the same time, neither team would skate shorthanded. In plain terms, the NHL decided that when they were coincidental penalties, the teams would stay at 5-on-5 rather than go down to 4-on-4, or 3-on-3 if 2 players from each side were penalized. This was a radical change from how hockey had been.
No. I'm trying to get it. Hold on. Please stay with me in the comments. Please stay with me. I'm trying to understand this.
Skate shorthanded. In plain terms, the NHL decided that when they were coincidental penalties, the teams would stay at 5-on-5 rather than go down to 4-on-4, or 3-on-3 if 2 players from each side were penalized. This was a radical change from how hockey had been played.
So basically, everything was fine, 5-on-5, but when the penalty happened, they go to 4-on-4 sometimes or 3-on-3. Okay. But instead of that now, they're going to stay 5-on-5.
For decades. And make no mistake, everyone knew why it was being implemented. And just to be clear, there had already been one rule change back in the 50s. The Montreal Canadiens were so overpowered on the power play that they'd regularly score 2-3 goals during a single 2-minute penalty. For that reason, Maurice Richard, Jean Beliveau, and the fellas forced the NHL to change the PP rules. At the time, teams would stay on the power play even after the team on the advantage had scored. Now, once you scored on the power play, the penalized player would come out of the box and the game would resume at even strength. That being said, during the early 1980s, the Oilers had discovered a lethal advantage. In open ice situations like 4-on-4 hockey, they were pretty much unstoppable. With one less opposing skater to worry about, Gretzky had even more ice to work his magic. And Edmonton...
Ooh, that's so fun. Bro, why the NHL... Hold on. Why the NHL don't want that, though? Why they don't want players to score more? It's going to give more, like... It's going to be more exciting. I don't understand why would you stop that?
And would often score at will in those scenarios. It became an open secret that the Oilers thrived on 4-on-4. In fact, some teams even accused Edmonton of intentionally causing coincidental penalties, getting an opposing player to retaliate so that both went into the box, just to set up a 4-on-4 situation they could exploit. And truth be told, it often worked. One analysis found that in the Oilers' playoff games from 1981 to 1985, a significant number of Gretzky's goals and points came during 4-on-4 or even 3-on-3 play. So the NHL's 1985 decision was essentially an attempt to level the playing field. They didn't publicly call it a rule aimed at Gretzky, but everyone knew it was.
The Gretzky
The media
rule.
even dubbed it the Gretzky rule, acknowledging that it
I
was
knew it was coming. Why do people hate on the great so bad, man? Like, bro, let them cook. Like, y'all gotta let me know in the comments. Did y'all hate this? Whoever was allowed when this happened, did y'all hate this? Did y'all like this or not? Somebody let me know. Because, bro.
Wayne's dominance that caused it. When Gretzky found out about the rule change, he was not pleased. A day after winning yet another Hart Trophy in 1985, he openly criticized the NHL's decision. In a press conference, Gretzky argued that the league was punishing teams for having talented players and taking away an exciting part of the game. From his perspective, why should fans be denied the thrill of 4-on-4 hockey just because one team was better at it? Why change the rules to nerf skill and offense? Many agreed with him. The rule change seemed to go against the spirit of competition.
It's like, bro.
But others felt it was needed. The Oilers were simply too far ahead of everyone, and something had to be done to rein them in. Either way, the Gretzky rule went into effect for the 1985 to 86 season. The impact was noticeable immediately. Suddenly, coincidental penalties resulted in no loss of manpower, meaning fewer of those wide-open situations that the Oilers fiend. Did it stop Gretzky? In 1985 to 86, the very first season of the new rule, Gretzky went out and had the most productive year of his career.
Gretzky.
215 points, a record that still stands. So, in the short term, not even a rule change could cool him off.
Stop playing
He
me.
continued to fill up the stat sheets.
Huh?
However, league-wide, the new rule perhaps signaled a shift. Other teams began to catch up to Edmonton's tactics. Defensive strategies slowly tightened across the NHL, and scoring eventually began to slow down in the late 80s. The Oilers themselves faced adversity in 1986, losing in a shocking playoff upset on a notorious own goal by a teammate, Steve Smith, that prevented them from winning what many assumed would be a third straight cup.
Hold on, his own goal? What was he, drunk?
In a shocking playoff upset on a notorious own goal by a teammate, Steve Smith, that prevented them from winning what many assumed would be a third straight cup. The Gretzky rule didn't single-handedly cause that, but it was clear the days of freewheeling 4-on-4 goal fests were over, at least for a few years. For Gretzky, there was a personal sting to having a rule named after him that essentially said, "You're too good." It's the ultimate sign of respect and resentment. But Wayne didn't let it change how he played. He kept dismantling tendies and setting up teammates whenever possible. The Oilers regrouped and won 2 more championships in 1987 and 1988.
Stop playing!
With Gretzky leading the way. Rule change or not. By the end of the 1980s, the Edmonton Oilers had firmly established their dynasty with 4 Stanley Cup titles in 5 years. And Gretzky had cemented himself as the greatest hockey player on the planet.
Greatest athlete. Because, bro, what he did, I don't think nobody else ever done in their life.
The implementation of the Gretzky rule had its share of backlash. Fans of the Oilers were generally unhappy. They felt the NHL shouldn't punish success or tamper with the rules just because one team found a cheat code. On the other hand, some coaches and players sighed in relief, grateful that they wouldn't have to face Gretzky in open ice as often. It was a strange situation. Gretzky was so dominant that it sparked debates about sportsmanship and whether the league should interfere in the natural evolution of the game. Imagine the NBA shrinking the hoop because one player never missed, or the NFL making end zones smaller because a running back was too shifty.
That's what I'm saying.
That's essentially what the NHL did. As the years went on,
that's what I'm thinking. Why would they do that, bro? Bro, let him cook.
Circumstances changed. In August 1988, in a move that shocked the hockey and sports world, Wayne Gretzky was traded from Edmonton to the LA Kings. Gretzky's departure marked the end of the Oilers dynasty. Over the next few seasons, most of the other key Oilers players either were traded or hung up the skates. By the early 1990s, the once fearsome Edmonton juggernaut had largely disbanded. The very reason for the Gretzky rule, that all-time great 1980s Oilers team, was no longer really a thing. In 1992, the NHL revisited the coincidental penalties rule. With scoring around the league having cooled and the Oilers' era over, the league decided to reverse the Gretzky rule for the 92 to 93 season. Offsetting minor penalties would once again result in 4-on-4 play, restoring the rulebook to how it used to be. By that time, Gretzky was 31 years old and playing in Los Angeles. Many of the managers and coaches who had pushed for the change back in 1985 had seen their mission accomplished. The playing field was evened out somewhat. Wayne's reaction to the rule being dropped wasn't recorded as dramatically as when it was introduced, but one imagines he might have felt a sense of validation. The game had shifted and come full circle. And, in a poetic twist, the very season the rule was lifted, Gretzky led the Los Angeles Kings on a Cinderella run to the 1993 Stanley Cup Final, his first trip back to the final since leaving Edmonton. Hockey was 4-on-4 again in coincidental penalties. Not that Wayne needed it. He was still the NHL's leading scorer in 1993. But it's fitting that as the open ice returned, Gretzky had one more shot at a championship. He and the Kings unfortunately fell short that year, losing in the final to the Habs, but his performance further cemented his legacy. Even in his 30s, he was dragging underdog teams to places they'd never seen. On April 18, 1999, Wayne Gretzky played his final NHL game. Skating off 1999, Wayne Gretzky played his final. On April 18, 1999, Wayne Gretzky played his final NHL game, skating off into retirement as the NHL's all-time leader in just about every offensive category you could think of. His career numbers are absurd: 894 goals and 1,963 assists, for a total of 2,857 points in the regular season, plus countless playoff records. To this day, he still holds or shares the vast majority of those records. Upon retiring, he held 61 NHL records in total, and most of them have never been broken. Other than, as we know now, Alex Ovechkin cracking his all-time goals record. Perhaps the most mind-boggling stat of all. Gretzky's 1,963 assists alone would still make him the NHL's leading point scorer in history. In other words, if Wayne had never scored a single goal, he'd still be #1 all-time in points just from his apples. Pretty whack if you ask me. Beyond the numbers and trophies, of which he earned plenty: 4 Stanley Cups, 9 Hart MVPs, 10 scoring titles, 2 4. Pretty whack if you ask me.
And then he retired the same. He retired the same year as Jordan, ain't it? Because he said 1999. Well, Jordan didn't retire, but y'all know what I mean.
Numbers and trophies, of which he earned plenty: 4 Stanley Cups, 9 Hart MVPs, 10 scoring titles, 2 Conn Smythes, and on and on. Gretzky's influence on hockey can't be measured. He inspired a generation of players to think the game differently, to value vision and teamwork as much as individual skill. He showed that you didn't have to be the biggest or strongest to be the best. You could outsmart and outskill your opponents. Under his leadership, hockey became more of a team game, a creative game. Even Ken Dryden noted that Gretzky was the acceptable face of Soviet hockey, meaning the slick, team-oriented style the Soviets used, but now embodied by a Canadian kid who made it cool. Every young player wanted to be like Gretzky. Eyes always up, making the perfect pass or scoring that game-deciding goal. His trade to Los Angeles in 1988 also had a massive impact. Gretzky is often credited with popularizing hockey in California and the US Sunbelt. The NHL expanded to new markets in the 1990s, places like San Jose, Tampa, and Phoenix, a wave directly linked to the buzz that Gretzky created in LA. Suddenly, kids in California were playing street hockey and wearing Kings jerseys with number 99 on the back. Wayne's presence grew the sport way beyond its traditional cold weather homes. It's no surprise that after he hung up his skates, the honors rolled in. The Hall of Fame waived the normal waiting period and inducted him immediately.
The great, bro, stop playing with the Hall. Y'all know what it was.
At the 2000 NHL All-Star Game, the league did something unprecedented. It retired Gretzky's iconic number 99 across every team, ensuring no one in the NHL would ever wear it again. Only one other athlete in North American sports, Jackie Robinson, has received a similar honor. And then recently, in 2022, number 6 in the NBA for Bill Russell. The number 99 now belongs to Wayne forever, hanging from rafters league-wide as a symbol of his greatness. He was not just the Great One by nickname. He was the Great One in reality. His records have stood for so long that some wondered if they'd ever be touched. Only now, some 30-plus years later, are a few finally within reach, a testament to how far ahead of his time he was. More importantly, Gretzky left us with permanent memories. The way he would circle the net, head up, surveying options like a general. The way he made passes that no one saw coming. The joyous grin when he'd hoist the Stanley Cup. And yes, the way he changed the very rules of the sport in his prime because of how he dominated the game. Wayne Gretzky is a living legend who defined an era of hockey. His story, from the backyard rink in Brantford to lifting trophies and rewriting the rulebook, is one of unparalleled talent and impact. Generations from now, when fans debate the greatest of all time, Gretzky's name will be right at the top of the list.
Right at the top. Right at the top. Greatest athletes of all time, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. He top 5. Greatest app, bro. 8 straight MVPs is insanity. Rookie year. Bro, how do you even do that? Nah, Wayne is... Yo, I gotta get more into hockey. I got to, bro. Let me know in the comments, what should I watch next? Like, who should I watch? Highlights, more Wayne Gretzky. I'm trying to get into it. I'm not really a big hockey fan, so I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to learn more. But let me know in the comments, bro. But I'm sure on that video, y'all already know what's going on. Okay.